80% of all U.S. counties are shrinking right now, and the very fastest disappearing one in the entire country is hiding right here in North Florida. Let that sink in. For 50 years, there was only one direction the moving trucks pointed, straight toward Florida. Sunshine, no income tax, cheap land, the American dream with a beach attached. But in 2026, something nobody saw coming has happened. The trucks turned around. In these 10 North Florida towns, people aren't just leaving, almost no one is moving in anymore. Entire communities that boomed for decades are now quietly emptying out. And the reasons why? They're darker, stranger, and closer to home than you think. What's driving them away? The storms, the money, or something else entirely? Stick around, because what's happening to town number one might be coming for yours next. Number one, Perry, Taylor County. Let's start with the town that broke a record nobody ever wants to win. Perry, Florida, the small timber and fishing seat of Taylor County, just earned a brutal title. According to the newest U.S. Census estimates, Taylor County posted the single steepest population decline of any county in the entire United States. In just 1 year, it shrank by a staggering 2.2%. Not in the whole country could you find a place emptying out faster. So what happened here? How does a quiet corner of the Big Bend coast become the fastest disappearing spot in America? The answer hits like a wall of wind and water. Storms, and not just one. Picture a tight-knit community where everyone knows everyone, built on timber mills, fishing boats, and generations of family history. Now picture that same town getting battered by 3 major hurricanes in a row. The worst of them, Hurricane Helene, came roaring ashore right here in 2024 as a terrifying Category 4 monster, with winds strong enough to erase entire neighborhoods. Along Keaton Beach and Deckley Beach, hundreds of homes were simply gone, wiped off the map. One local described the destruction in chilling words. He said Helene was a whole other animal. And here's the part that's truly heartbreaking. When a town gets knocked down once, people rebuild. They're tough. But when the storms keep coming, year after year, season after season, something inside a community quietly breaks. Families look at the rubble, look at the rising insurance bills, look at the next hurricane forecast, and they make the hardest decision of their lives. They leave. And the newcomers? The dreamers who once would have snapped up cheap coastal land? They stop coming entirely because nobody wants to move toward a place that's still digging itself out from the last disaster. That's the cold truth about Perry in 2026. It's not that people fell out of love with this town. It's that the storms made staying almost impossible. Number 2, Quincy, Gadsden County. Now travel west and prepare yourself, because this next story isn't just sad, it's almost Shakespearean. Welcome to Quincy, the heart of Gadsden County. Today it's a town fighting to survive. But here's the twist almost no one believes when they first hear it. Quincy was once the richest town in all of Florida. I'm not exaggerating. A century ago, thanks to a magical crop called shade tobacco, and one genius local banker who convinced half the town to pour their money into a brand new company called Coca-Cola, Gadsden County became the wealthiest county per capita in the entire state. Mansions lined the streets, money flowed like the river. This was Florida's golden town. So, what on earth happened? Fast forward to 2026, and the picture is almost unrecognizable. Gadsden County now holds a very different title, the highest poverty rate of any county in Florida. Over just the decade from 2014 to 2024, its population shrank by roughly 4.3%, and it's still slipping. Local leaders have openly admitted the goal isn't even growth anymore. It's simply to stop the bleeding and reach a stable population. And if you drive the back roads outside town, you'll see the saddest symbol of all, the old shade tobacco barns still standing in the fields, rusting, empty, and forgotten. Here's the brutal lesson Quincy teaches us. When the industry that built a town disappears and nothing rises up to replace it, the people don't all leave at once. It happens quietly. First, the young people go, chasing jobs in bigger cities. Then the businesses follow the customers. Then the schools shrink, And one by one, the lights go out. Newcomers, they take one look at the lack of jobs and the empty storefronts, and they keep driving. Quincy isn't dying because it's ugly or unwelcoming. It's actually full of history and charm. It's fading because the money left first, and the people simply followed. Number 3, Madison. Roughly an hour east of Quincy, you'll stumble onto a town that looks like it was pulled straight out of a postcard. Meet Madison, a classic old Florida county seat, wrapped in towering live oaks, draped in Spanish moss, with a gorgeous historic courthouse square right at its heart. Honestly, it's the kind of place that makes you slow your car down and whisper, "Wow, people actually live here?" And that's exactly the problem. Fewer and fewer of them do. Because here's the harsh truth about Madison in 2026. Charm doesn't pay the bills. A beautiful town square can't compete with a paycheck. And Madison sits dead center in the stretch of rural North Florida where one quiet, almost invisible force is hollowing out entire communities. Demographers have a chilling name for it. They call it the demographic squeeze. And it works like this. In towns like Madison, the population is steadily aging. The young people grow up and leave. They chase jobs and opportunity in places like Tallahassee, Jacksonville, or out of the state entirely. Meanwhile, the folks who stay behind are getting older. And then comes the part nobody likes to say out loud. In many of these rural North Florida communities, deaths now outpace births. Read that again. More people are passing away each year than are being born. So even without a single dramatic hurricane or factory closing, the population just erodes quietly, year after year, like sand slipping through your fingers. Now here's the cruel twist. A town in that situation desperately needs new people to move in and fill the gap. But why would they? There's little new industry, few high-paying jobs, and the bright young families looking for a future find almost nothing to anchor them here. So they admire Madison. They photograph that beautiful courthouse, and then they drive on to somewhere with more opportunity. Madison isn't collapsing in a single dramatic blow. It's fading the slowest, quietest way of all, one generation at a time. Number 4, Monticello, Jefferson County. Just down the road sits a town so stunning, it's regularly named one of the most beautiful small towns in all of Florida. And once you see it, you'll understand why. This is Monticello, the crown jewel of Jefferson County. Picture grand antebellum homes with wraparound porches, a breathtaking historic courthouse modeled after Thomas Jefferson's own Monticello, brick streets, ancient oaks, and a downtown so charming it looks frozen in a more elegant century. So here's the question that'll make your head spin. If it's this beautiful, why is almost no one moving here? And the answer is one of the strangest twists in this entire video. Because in Monticello, beauty itself has become the trap. Think about it. The very thing that makes this town so magical, that quiet, perfectly preserved, frozen in time character, is the exact same thing quietly strangling its future. To stay this charming, Monticello has stayed almost completely unchanged. And unchanged comes with a hidden price tag. It means almost no new industry. It means very few new high-wage jobs. It means hardly any new housing going up for the families who might actually want to move in. The town has, in a sense, chosen to protect its past, and in doing so, it's accidentally closed the door on its future. Now picture a young couple in their early 30s. They visit, they fall head over heels in love with those brick streets and that gorgeous square. And then reality hits. Where do we work? Where do we buy a home? What's here for our kids in 20 years? And quietly, reluctantly, they leave. Here's what makes Monticello so different from the others on this list. People aren't fleeing in a panic. There's no disaster, no economic collapse, no rusting factory. Instead, something far subtler is happening. They're simply choosing not to come. And in the cold arithmetic of population, a town nobody is leaving, but nobody is moving to, fades just the same. Number 5, Mayo, Lafayette County. Now we leave the pretty postcards behind and head somewhere truly remote, a place where the silence is so deep you can almost hear the town slipping away. Welcome to Mayo, the tiny seat of Lafayette County, one of the least populated counties in the entire state of Florida. Blink while driving through, and you might miss it completely. And in 2026, that's becoming dangerously close to the truth. Out here, the challenges don't come one at a time. They pile up, stacking against each other until escape feels almost inevitable. And researchers who study rural America point to the exact same brutal combination again and again. First, there's almost no childcare. Imagine being a young parent who wants to work, but there's nowhere to safely leave your kids. Second, there's limited access to higher education and decent internet. In a world that now runs on broadband, parts of rural North Florida are still stuck buffering. And third, the quiet killer, an aging workforce slowly retiring out, with far too few young people left to take their place. Now put yourself in the shoes of a sharp, ambitious 28-year-old born and raised right here in Mayo. You love this land, you love these people, but you need a real job. You need childcare for your little ones. You need internet fast enough to build a future on. And one painful day, you realize, Mayo can't give you all three. So what do? You pack up, you drive toward the nearest city, and you don't come back. That's the gut-punch truth about Mayo in 2026. Its problem was never the land or the people or the heart of the community. All of that is beautiful. Its biggest export, heartbreakingly, has quietly become its own young people. Quick favor, drop the name of one town you'd never leave no matter what in the comments. We read every single one. And if you're enjoying this, subscribing is just one click, but it means the absolute world to us. Number 6, Bristol, Liberty County. If you thought Mayo was remote, buckle up, because our next town might be the most isolated place on this entire list. This is Bristol, the seat of Liberty County, and it holds a title that's almost hard to believe. Liberty County is one of the least populated counties east of the Mississippi River. Not just in Florida, not just in the South, east of the entire Mississippi. Let that wild fact sink in for a second. Tucked away against the wild, winding Apalachicola River, Bristol is breathtakingly beautiful. A land of deep forests, black water swamps, and a kind of stillness most Americans have completely forgotten exists. But here in 2026, that very remoteness has become its quiet curse. Here's the problem almost nobody thinks about. A huge portion of Liberty County isn't even available for people to live on. So much of it is locked up as public land and protected forest, national forest, state lands, wildlife management areas. And while that makes it a paradise for hunters and nature lovers, it slams a hard ceiling down on the town's future. Think about what that actually means. There's barely anywhere to build new homes. There are precious few ways to earn a modern living. No big employers moving in, no new neighborhoods rising up. The town is, in a sense, boxed in by the very wilderness that makes it special. And then there's the final blow, one so simple it's almost easy to overlook. Most people don't even know Bristol exists. When families plan a move to Florida, they dream of Tampa, Orlando, the beaches, the big cities. Bristol never even enters the conversation. It's not on their radar. It's not on their map. It's practically invisible. And here's the cruel irony at the heart of it all, that invisibility is exactly why no one is moving there. You can't fall in love with a town if you've never even heard its name. Number 7, Chipley, Washington County. Now we cross over into the Florida Panhandle and into a town that's been quietly fighting the same battle for nearly a decade. A battle most of the country forgot about long ago. Meet Chipley, the small seat of Washington County, a community of fewer than 4,000 people. Tiny, tight-knit, the kind of place where the whole town shows up at the high school football game on a Friday night. But beneath that small-town warmth lies a deep scar, and its name is Hurricane Michael. Cast your mind back to 2018. Michael came screaming inland as one of the most violent storms ever to strike the Panhandle, packing winds of an almost unimaginable 155 miles per hour. And here's the part people forget. Chipley isn't even on the coast. This was an inland town. Yet Michael hit it with the force of a freight train, splintering homes, snapping ancient trees, and tearing the community apart in a matter of hours. Now here's the truly haunting part. Years later, they're still recovering. Residents will tell you straight up, the worst may be over, but the wounds haven't fully healed. Years after the storm. And this right here is the side of the Florida dream the glossy brochures never, ever show you. There's even a name for it now, hurricane fatigue. Just imagine it. A small inland town spends the better part of a decade rebuilding from a single catastrophic storm, and then, every single summer, has to sit and watch the forecasts, bracing for the next one to come, year after year after year. What message does that send to a family thinking about moving in? It's loud, it's clear, and it's chilling. Come here at your own risk. So they don't come. The newcomers stay away, and a brave little town that refused to give up finds itself emptier with every passing season. Chipley didn't lose its spirit to Michael. It lost something harder to rebuild, its future arrivals. Number 9, Live Oak, Suwannee County. Our next town sits right along one of the most legendary rivers in all of Florida, and on paper, it should be absolutely thriving. But the reality, it's caught in a silent vice that's squeezing the life out of working families across the entire state. Welcome to Live Oak, the seat of Suwannee County, named for that same Suwannee River made famous in song, fed by crystal clear springs and wrapped in some of the prettiest natural scenery North Florida has to offer. It's got charm, it's got history, it's got that easygoing small town soul. So why is almost nobody moving here in 2026? The answer is a brutal two-sided trap. On one side, stagnant wages. On the other, a runaway cost of living. And the people of Live Oak are caught right in the middle, being crushed from both directions at once. A recent Wall Street Journal report captured this heartbreak better than anything I've seen. It pointed out a painful irony. Florida was once the place working families flocked to for opportunity. It was the land of the fresh start, the affordable dream. But that dream is quietly dying, because today, rising housing costs, skyrocketing insurance bills, and wages that simply refuse to keep up are now pushing the very middle class right out of the state they helped build. And in a town like Live Oak, that math becomes impossible. Picture a hard-working family doing everything right, both parents working, watching every dollar. And yet, every single year the bills climb higher, while the paychecks stay flat. The insurance goes up, the groceries go up, the rent goes up, the wages? Frozen. Eventually something has to give, so they make the agonizing choice. They pack up and chase a better cost of living somewhere else. And the newcomers who might have replaced them take one look at those same numbers and never even arrive. Live Oak isn't fading because it lost its beauty. It's fading because the paychecks stopped keeping up with the price of staying. Number 10, Carabel, Franklin County. And finally, we reach the coast, the last stop on our journey, and in many ways the town that captures everything we've talked about, all rolled into one tiny, beautiful, struggling package. This is Carabel, a small fishing town in Franklin County, perched right on the edge of the Gulf of Mexico. Sleepy docks, shrimp boats rocking in the harbor, salt air, quiet streets, and sunsets that look like they were painted by hand. It's the kind of place people dream about retiring to. So why, in 2026, is almost nobody making that dream a reality? Because Carabel is where all four of the forces we've uncovered in this video come crashing together at once, like a perfect storm. Start with its location. It's a coastal community, which sounds heavenly until you realize it also means the highest hurricane exposure and the highest insurance bills of anywhere on this entire list. Remember those record-breaking premiums? Right on the water, they hit hardest of all. Then there's the economy. Carabel leans heavily on fishing and seasonal tourism, two of the most fragile, unpredictable industries you can build a town on. One bad season, one disrupted harvest, one slow summer, and families feel it instantly. And here's the gut punch. Carabel sits in that very same Big Bend stretch of coastline that took the absolute brunt of Hurricane Helene, the monster storm that started this whole list back in Perry. The danger isn't theoretical here. It's recent. It's raw. It's remembered. So picture that hopeful retiree dreaming of a little place by the sea. They fall in love with Carabel in about 30 seconds. And then reality arrives. The insurance quote, the storm history, the fragile local economy, and quietly, reluctantly, they let the dream go. Beautiful? Breathtakingly so. Easy to move to and afford in 2026? Sadly, no. And so Carabelle waits, charming, patient, and proud, for the newcomers who just aren't coming anymore. So there you have it, 10 North Florida towns, 10 different stories. But if you listen closely, they're all whispering the exact same warning. Because here's the thing, this was never really about 10 random towns having a run of bad luck. Step back, look at the whole picture, and a chilling pattern snaps into focus. The same four forces, hammering the same fragile region, over and over and over again. First, the hurricanes. Michael, Helene, Milton, storm after storm, turning recovery into a permanent way of life. Second, the insurance crisis. Those record-shattering, highest-in-America premiums, making storm-battered homes almost impossible to afford. Third, the jobs and the wages. Old industries like tobacco and timber fading into rust, with nothing new rising to take their place. And fourth, the quiet killer, the demographic squeeze. As the young people leave, the population ages. And in town after town, deaths now outpace births. And if you need just one number to understand how dramatic this shift really is, here it is. Florida's net new arrivals reportedly peaked at around 310,000 people in 2022, and then collapsed to just 22,000 by 2025. Read that again. In only 3 short years, the greatest migration magnet in America nearly shut off. Now let's be fair, the Florida boom isn't dead everywhere. Plenty of cities are still growing fast. But out here in rural North Florida, the truth in 2026 is impossible to ignore. The boom is already over. These towns aren't ugly. They aren't unwelcoming. Many are genuinely beautiful, full of history, heart, and proud people who refuse to give up. They're simply caught in forces far bigger than themselves. And the haunting question we're left with is this: which town will be next? Maybe, just maybe. It's closer to home than any of us think.